we first started meeting with our Leaders Edge coach, we just wanted to make a living. Like I had mentioned, we moved to a brand new city. We were starting a brand new career, fresh out of college, and we had no idea what we were doing. So we needed to make a living. We didn't just want to, we needed to make a living. We did that. Then my next goal was 30 under 30 here at Coldwell Banker Realty. We did that. Then I wanted to be in the top 2% of Coldwell Banker agents worldwide. We did that. Then I wanted to be the number one agent in our office here in Delray Beach out of 264 agents. I'm proud to say this year we did that. And my goal for next year is to make $1 million in this business. And with our Leaders Edge coach, Jason, I know we'll do that. We'll do that because we're set up for success with our prospecting tools. We're set up for success with an amazing assistant. We're set up for success with our marketing. We're set up for success by, making sure our communication is top notch, by making sure our follow-up is really, really solid. And we wouldn't be where we are today without Jason's help. And I am so, so grateful.
To get started, go to mycbdesk.com and search Leaders Edge.
What's wonderful about Leaders Edge is I didn't realize how many things I actually did need help with. So at the time, I thought it was just systems, but it was also time management. It was learning how to do objection handling. It was keeping consistency with my prospecting. But most of all, I had accountability to a coach that I was meeting with. So I couldn't just come back in after our session. And usually there was kind of almost like a homework or goal setting that was in mind that we were going to meet and talk about how it went from the time before. And I know that I needed to do my action items to make sure that I had somebody that was counting on me to get this done. So it is amazing how accountability can make you be a much better agent.
To get started, go to leccoaching.com.
When I started in the business pretty early on, I decided to sign up for Leaders Edge coaching. One of the main reasons is there's a ton of different agents in our office, and we were deciding, who we want to model our business after, who's really doing a bulk of the work and the deals. And what we found is that the successful agents all hired a real estate coach, several of which with Leaders Edge coaching. And it was just clear they had a schedule, they were motivated, they knew exactly what to do. A lot of times when you jump into this business, you get your real estate license, you're excited, you go into the office, and you just don't know what to do. And so, jumping in with Leaders Edge coaching really made the roadmap for us to be successful.
To get started, go to leccoaching.com. What is Jumpstart Coaching?
Are you ready to make your mark in real estate? Whether you're brand new or changing brokerages, this is your moment, and I'm here to help you shine. Hi, I'm Coach Chris with Leaders Edge Coaching, and our agent launch Jumpstart is a focused 2-session program designed to set you apart from day one. We'll polish your online presence, craft your announcement, and create a simple plan for you to connect with your sphere, sparking real conversations that can lead to results. You have one chance to make that first impression. Let's make it a powerful one. Join Agent Launch today. Start strong. I'll guide you every step of the way.
Hey friends, it's top of the hour and you know what time it is. Welcome to Leaders Weekly. Today is May 26th and we're back with another Power Pack session to keep you sharp inspired, and leveling up in real estate. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Vanessa Romero. Most people call me V, your co-host for today's ride. So let's get into it. Today's session is called Modern Moves. Win more clients, close with confidence. Because in today's market, strategy alone isn't enough. Connection, consistency, and courage are what set top performers apart. Now, if you do have any questions along the way, please make sure to type it in our Q&A box or scan the code on the screen to send it in. We really do love hearing from you, and we'll do our very best to make sure we get to everyone. As always, our focus rotates between 4 key areas: lead generation, building your client base and keeping your pipeline full; sales skills, learning to close more deals with confidence; inspiration and mindset, staying motivated, energized, and on track; lastly, your business structure, working smarter, not harder to scale your business. Now, before we do dive in, I want to make sure that you all grab a copy of today's session highlights. We really want you to focus on the content that we're providing, so the note-taking is all done for you. Now, grab your phone, scan the QR code. Don't have your phone handy? Don't worry about it. You can go ahead and log into leadersweekly.com and click on the highlights. Now, without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, Chris.
Hey, Vanessa, happy long weekend for you guys down in the U.S.
Yes, thank you. Happy long weekend for us too. Happy Memorial Day for everyone. How's it going? How's your Monday going so far?
It's great. I'm excited about today's session. And I would imagine we'll have probably a few less people watching it live today and more likely to be watching the recordings. I think some of the watch parties in the U.S. have been postponed until later in the week. So that being said, we have a great session today. Next week, we have a guest speaker coming in, and the first Monday of the month. So today's session is really about some lessons I learned from my dad. And I did this, we did this session, Vanessa and I, because Father's Day is coming up, and I think it's the 15th of June. That being said, I'm most likely, because of next week, I think is when the Father's Day message would get typically delivered. So I'm delivering it this week because you're going to have a guest next week. But these are some of the lessons my dad taught me. And I'd like to share them with you because they have been critical in my career development over the 44 years I've been in real estate. So with that, I'd love to share today's topic with you. It's really about relationships. It kind of encompasses all of the things we talk about in Leaders Weekly. It's got a lot to do with finding new opportunities. It has to do with building relationships, which is really the selling skills that we talk about. It's how do you connect? It's about attitude. Some of the life lessons my dad taught me about how to adjust your attitude so that you can be successful. And then, to my father's credit, he was always a great salesman. So closing was never an issue with him. It was just the final sequence in the process of convincing somebody to move forward with whatever he was selling, because my father was a salesman just about all his life, small business guy. And I'll share some of those stories with you. But that's today's topic for us. And I think that there's some valuable stuff there, common sense lessons that everybody's going to be able to appreciate. So without that, let's get into the content today, Vanessa. Some nuggets of wisdom. It's my dad passed 8 years ago now, and I don't know where the time goes. Every year leading up to Father's Day, I reflect on the advice he gave me growing up and some of the lessons he taught me. I was blessed to have great parents, fortunate. And my parents taught me as much as they could with the experience they had. Like, for example, my dad had a grade 6 education, but yet went on to be a very successful businessman. And the lessons he taught me had a lot to do with work ethic, attitude, how you approach an opportunity. And I want to share those with everybody today because I know that they relate specifically to real estate. So I have 12 nuggets of wisdom that we've compiled, things that I learned. And I hold on to these lessons as I move forward with the balance of my life to be as successful as I possibly can. So the first nugget I have for you, my dad would say you always have to chase a dollar, chase a buck. And he would say to me, slow feet don't eat. You want to make money, you got to hustle, he would say. Even if you get a hint of an opportunity, not even something that is substantial, you have to pursue it with enthusiasm. If you hear someone, for instance, has a friend who's thinking about moving, the average salesperson doesn't pay attention. A good salesperson might say, hey, can you pass on my information? I'd love to help your friend. But a great sales professional says, you know what? I'm going to give you one of my cards. I'd love for you to hand it over, pass it on to your friend. But with your permission, could I get their contact details? I'd love to reach out to them, introduce myself, and offer how I might be of assistance in helping them move through a complex logistic or a complex transaction. So the difference there is this. Most people don't pursue it. Some people pursue it only halfway, like, here's my card. But a really great salesperson says, here's my card, mention it to your friend, but in the meantime, let them know I'm going to be calling. And it's that extra step that gives you that leg up, that opportunity. Now, I want you to also understand, when a friend recommends you to another friend, the person you're about to engage with, the opportunity, the prospect, is more likely to want to talk with you because a friend recommended you. So there's a little bit less suspicion and a little bit less skepticism, and they're more likely to be open to the idea of having a conversation about real estate. So I want you to understand how important that is. Now, in commission sales, fortune favors the bold. One of the challenges I find with salespeople is they see an opportunity, they see something they're curious about, but they don't pull the trigger. If you spot something new and you think it has merit, you have to try. For instance, today, I think the topic might be, for the first half of this year, maybe the balance of this year, AI and how it affects real estate. And the benefits your business could receive by using it. I don't believe AI is going to replace us, because I still believe real estate is a personal, relationship-based business. But what it does is it really leverages the strategies we have. It creates great efficiencies and allows us to do so much more than what we're doing right now. It allows us to elevate our communication, for example, to a really professional level, where we might have had to rely on an assistant in the past to clean up some of those emails or write that proposal or put that project together. Today, we can use AI to do it. And I tell you what I love about this, and you don't know this about me, but I'm dyslexic. I have a learning disability. And for my entire career, I've had to count on somebody to clean up my correspondence. And you can imagine the time lag that has in trying to communicate with people. Well, with the introduction of ChatGPT, for instance, and then I've gone on and I'm using Perplexity and I'm using other platforms out there, my communication today looks like it was written by an executive assistant with an MBA, and it's just fabulous. And the thing I love about it is, when I get an idea in my mind, I can execute on it right away, because I don't have to rely on somebody else to get it onto their work calendar, get it done, get the correspondence sent back, me go through the final draft and send it out. This is beautiful. I have yet to figure out everything it can do, and I'm sure I'll never will. But I got to tell you, I am curious, I'm excited, and I'm enthusiastic. Now, that's just one example of a tool. There are all kinds of new tools being developed as we speak. And I need you to have an open mind and be curious. Don't be one of those people who says, that's not how I do it, because how we used to do it isn't how we're going to do it. It's going to change. And we have to embrace change. Most people hate change. Don't hate it. Wrap your arms around it. Get involved in it and be the agent that leads the path going forward. Be the one that everybody else is like, do you see what he's doing? Do you see what she's doing? Be that person, so that you get that jump start. Open mind. Now, I will tell you that depending on what market you're in, for instance, coming up in the very near future, I'm going to be a guest speaker for the Century 21 brokers all across the country, the owners of the offices. And I can tell you that some markets in Canada, the market's doing really well. Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, they're getting multiple offers and they don't have enough inventory. Toronto, on the other hand, in Vancouver, the market's really sagging and it's really kind of it's decompressed and things have slowed down. Days on the market are longer. What I will tell you is this: it doesn't matter which market you're in. When a market turns lean, the agents turn mean. So we have to be careful with our money in lean times. But that doesn't mean being so careful to the point where you won't invest any money. You still have to take some risk in business. Even if the times are lean, you've still got to be prepared to make investments in your business. But how do you make those investments with some level of confidence? Because in a commission business, when you have a nest egg and the market slows down, you want to hold on to that nest egg. I get it. But sometimes accountants hold on too tight. Entrepreneurs sometimes can spend without putting enough research into their money. You got to find that balance. So if you don't spend any money, your business is going to stagnate and stop. And when that happens, the world continues to march forward and you get left behind. Entrepreneurs, good entrepreneurs, still take risk, but they take calculated risks. For instance, maybe there's a new technology out there someone wants to sell you. Don't just buy it. Ask them for references. Go to the Better Business Bureau online. See if there's any issues with that particular company. Do your homework, do your research, and ask real life examples of people who are using it today, and you'd like to reach out and have a conversation with them to see if they would give your product or your technology a really good endorsement. I'm not saying don't take risk. I am saying we still have to, but in the process, I want you to be calculated in the risks you take. Now, nugget number 3, the customer is always right. So when I was about 14, my dad owned a clothing store, and I was required and expected, as the oldest boy in the family, to go to work every day after school. And that was from Monday to Wednesday, from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And then Thursday and Friday, I was expected to work to 9 o'clock at night. Saturday, I was expected to work from 9 to 6 in the morning. And as the oldest son, that was my responsibility. Now, you'll quickly find out if you ever work in retail how unreasonable the public can be. We've all heard the saying, the customer is always right. Some days that's really hard to swallow when people are not being authentic, honest, sincere, and sometimes being a bully with us. I get it. I've worked in a commission business just about my entire life, so I understand what we're up against. Now, my dad would always say at the end of the day, the customer gets what the customer wants, and it's up to our job to deliver it. So let me give you a quick example. One of the things that we sold were blue jeans when I was a kid in this clothing store. And there was a period of time where, for instance, young ladies used to wear their jeans so tight it looked like somebody sprayed them on. And I can honestly remember young ladies coming out of the change room, the jeans were so tight they couldn't do them up. And they would lay down on the floor of my dad's store and expect me to take a pair of pliers to pull the zipper up and help them put the button on. Now, if you were to ask me as a sales professional or as a clothing person, is that a really great idea to buy a pair of jeans so tight that they virtually look like somebody sprayed them on? And the answer is no. And I might even say to somebody, these are a little too tight. We should try a little larger size. And the response was, no, this is what I want. This is the way I like them. So at the end of the day, who is it for me to say to somebody, no, you need a bigger pair of jeans. If you want to wear jeans that tight, go ahead, wear your jeans that tight. Sometimes we give great advice and the clients don't listen. So when it comes to residential real estate, we see that all the time. In the end, it's your job to get them what they want, even if they don't agree. Even if you don't agree, it's the best thing for them. Very quickly, I had a young couple, Kathy and Joe. I sold them their first house. About 5 years later, they called me up and they wanted to sell it. They'd had some kids and they wanted to get a new house. After I realized what their debt service availability was, how much money they had paid down on their mortgage and how much money they had saved up, they could really buy, instead of a starter home or a second home, a really nice home in a nice neighborhood in my town. And I continued to show them really, really nice houses. But the challenge we ran into is they kept saying, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And they continued to pick houses on the other side of town that were, in my opinion, quite dumpy. They were dumpy houses. And finally, Joe called me on a Friday one Friday afternoon, and he said, Chris, I think we're going to have to find a new real estate agent. And I said, Joe, why? And he said, because you're not listening to us. And I said, I'm sorry, what do you mean? He said, we keep choosing houses on the east side. You keep choosing houses on the west side. He said, I don't know anybody that lives on the west side. He said, that's not where my people come from. He said, and Joe worked in a factory. He said, the only people I know that live on the west side of town are my insurance broker and my banker. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have anything personally in common with those guys. Quite honestly, he said to me on a Saturday afternoon, I like to sit on my back deck in my boxer shorts and drink beer, and I'm not doing it with my banker or my insurance broker. So I said, whoa, okay, Joe, you tell me what you want. I'll help you find it, or I'll help you get it. They chose an old red brick 2-story on a truck route with a cellar instead of a basement that flooded in the spring. They knew all of these things, and they still bought the house. And I was like, At the end of the day, Joe said, this is where my people are. This is what makes me happy. And what I came to realize is what I think is always right isn't necessarily what they want. Now, would they have been better to buy a better property in a better location that would have protected their investment? The answer is absolutely yes. But I was seeing things from my perspective, not theirs. And at the end of the day, like my father said, at the end of the day, the customer is always right. And your job is to get them what they want. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't still participate in the conversation. That doesn't mean we shouldn't still take time to educate our clients. But at the end of the day, you want to put all that information out for them. You want to bring all that valuable information. You want to make that argument for them. But you got to let them choose in the end. The fourth tip I have for you today, the fourth nugget, is to treat every client like a VIP. Treat every client like they feed, house, and clothe your family, is what my father would say. My dad would suggest that we go the extra mile with everyone that came into our store, for instance. My dad also owned restaurants as well. He owned a moving company at one point, a paint and decorating company at one point. I mean, my father was always into business of some kind. My dad would suggest you got to go the extra mile with people. People are not a transaction. People are a relationship. And if you want business in the future, it will depend on how you take care of the business you're working on right now. How do you treat these people? It goes beyond treating them. It goes to the point you would want to treat your clients the way you would expect to be treated. Treat them like they want to be treated. Take really, really good care of them. My father was exceptional at this. He always went the extra mile. And I will say this to you. There's never a traffic jam on the road to the extra mile. Everybody is always looking for a way to do less and get paid more. And the real secret to your success is doing more than what they expected. Deliver the unexpected. Deliver an experience that has got a wow factor attached to it. And then you're going to find that you're going to create raving fans that are going to talk to you, talk to everybody they know about you. Build confidence or build connections with them at every turn. Be genuinely interested in them. My father was masterful at really being present and talking to people. He didn't just do this as a sale. He did it because he was really curious and wanted to know about them. My father had this ability to connect with other people. And I'll tell you in a few minutes, it didn't matter what station in life you held. My father treated everybody with respect. The next time you see them, refer them back to the personal details in the conversation that you were actually truly interested. So what I'm saying to you is when you're talking to somebody, gather up personal information. Don't just gather it, own it, remember it, make it part of it. So the next time you see them, you bring that up. You ask them questions about our last conversation. This is just a little skill that you have to add to the way you communicate. And when you do that, people will feel a much stronger connection with you because they're going to realize you're building a relationship, not a transaction. This isn't about commission. This is about clients and customer service. Customer service has a lot to do with your ability to communicate. And communication really, if you want a relationship, is not sending somebody a text message. They're really efficient, but very, very little. They're not very effective in that making that bond. So I'm going to tell you again, pick up the phone and talk to people. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know what you're working on. Let them know what marketing strategies this week you'll be deploying that they might not be aware of, so that they're constantly saying, you know what, I hear from my agent all the time. They're talking to me all the time. They're telling me about what they're doing, what's going on. You know, a lot of times you do a lot of work behind the scenes and the client doesn't even recognize that you've done anything. You want to keep them up to date on everything. Let them know what's happening, how many views online, how many people have looked at it, how many people came to the open house, what the other agents had to say when they showed the property. All of this communication is built around the real estate transaction. But the byproduct of communicating with everybody is relationship building. Don't just send them a text message. Pick up the phone and call them, talk to them. And if you do that, you're going to find that the relationship gets stronger and stronger. Soon they don't see you as a service provider. And soon they see you as not just the expert locally, but they see you as a friend. And when people are friends, they feel a responsibility to be of assistance. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those relationships. Now, my father would say you have to show up early and stay late. When I worked in my dad's clothing store as a teenage boy, I can tell you that on a Friday night, and I was expected to work till 9 o'clock at night, my father would make me stay right up to the very end. One of the things he demanded of me was 8:15 every Saturday morning. I had to show up, even though the store didn't open till 9. I had to show up at 8:15, and I was expected to go through the entire store and make sure everything was set perfectly. The shirts were set perfectly. The jeans and the pants were stacked perfectly. The store looked amazing. The music was on. The lights were open. The front door was open. The clothing racks were out on the street. And those racks were designed. Think about your sales funnel now, where we put stuff that was on sale that would stop the traffic at the doorway. And the doorway would have something just inside that was maybe a new arrival that would get them interested. So the racks at the front were to stop them. The stuff at the beginning of the doorway was to bring them in. And once we got them in that funnel, we moved them through the store. And in the process, some of the new arrivals that they wanted to see were at the very back of the store. That meant they had to make their way through the entire inventory before they got to the new stuff. And that always meant that not only did they buy something new, but they bought something that was already there. And there was lots of little tips my dad taught me on the way through. But think about this from a marketing perspective. Your funnel should attract somebody, should bring somebody in. And then from there, we work on building those relationships. Now, as I said, my dad expected me to stay till 9 o'clock. And as a teenage boy, everything was happening on a Friday night. You wanted to be at the beach party, at the pool party, or you wanted to be out having fun. And my dad wouldn't let me leave until everybody had left the store. And I can tell you that one lady in town, a very wealthy lady, Mrs. Weber, she came in one Friday night at 8:45. And she said to my dad, "What time does your store close?" And my dad's response is, "Mrs. Weber, we will close our store when you're done shopping." Which I looked at my dad with eyes like, "What are you talking about? I have a party to go to, and this is the last place I want to be." My father could see this look of frustration. Well, Mrs. Weber stayed to 10 o'clock that night. I had to stay in the store. Everybody was out having fun. I was like an hour, overtime. When Mrs. Weber left, my father said to me, and at that time I played ice hockey. And my father said to me, I said, "Dad, why did we stay? Like, we're closed at 9 o'clock. And he said, "Because Mrs. Weber bought your hockey stick this week." And I said, "What are you talking about? I bought my hockey stick this week." And he said, "No, you have a job because of Mrs. Weber, and you have that hockey stick because you have a job. You wouldn't have a hockey stick if it wasn't for Mrs. Weber. You need to understand something, that she pays our bills." And I never forgot that lesson, because too many real estate agents, when they're doing an open house, when the open house is over at 4 o'clock, at 3:45, they're packing up. And when a potential prospect walks in and they say, "How long is the open house?" And the agent says, "Oh, I'm just about to leave." That's not the message you want to send. The message needs to be, "I will stay as long as you want us to. And we will go through this house and you take your time." It's not about you getting out at 4 o'clock. It's about you being there until the last client leaves. And it's not, and if you want to be successful, it's not about going home at 4 o'clock. It's about going back to the office, taking out the guest registry and saying, "Hey, this is Chris from ABC Real Estate. You were at my open house today. I wanted to take a minute and reach out and talk to you. I know that we didn't have a real chance to spend a lot of time together, and my sellers always ask me to give a report on what people thought. With your permission, I'd like to take a few minutes and be able to explore your thoughts on the property. I'd like to report back to the seller. But you got to know, not only am I going to report back to the seller, but that conversation allows me an opportunity to deepen my relationship with that prospect and turn them from a prospect to a client. And then I'm going to, through a series of questions, through curiosity, not through interrogation, going to find out what they're interested in and what brought them out and what they were looking for and when they were hoping to move and what they wanted in their next house. And then I'm going to take that call and I'm going to convert it to an appointment at their house where I'm going to list their house for sale and sign the BRA and get them out to look at houses. This is how we do things. Now, you wonder why so many people fail in real estate? Because they don't follow up and they don't follow through. Those are two key factors in delivering an experience that they were not expecting from the average agent. Remember, the world is full of average. We're looking for exceptional. We build exceptional agents. We don't do average. Number 5 on my list was show up early and stay late. I think that's the same story I just told you. If you want the same from your real estate career, you got to be the first one in the office and the last one to leave. You don't go home at 4 o'clock on a Saturday after the open house. You go back to the office and you call people. No one said real estate was going to be easy, and it's not. So you understand you are a sales professional, and this business can be a grind. Absolutely. But we grind every day and we bring our grit to what we do. And it is that grit that elevates you above the average in the industry because you are tough. You're not a quitter. You keep digging in, you keep digging in, and you keep digging in. And you know what? You're just going to outwork the competition. That's what you're going to do. You're going to outmuscle them at every turn. When they're taking time off, you're working. When they're eating, you're working. When they're in bed, you're working. What are you doing? You're working. And in the process, you're going to be the one that everybody says, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that lady, that girl. And here's the truth. Most of them won't, because they're not willing to do what's necessary. Take the option to fail away and get into this thing. Roll up your shirt sleeves and dig in. These are the lessons my dad taught me. Now, like I said, my dad did not have a master's in business. He had a grade 6 education, but was a very successful business guy because it was about customer service. It was about treating people respectfully. It was about following up, always going the extra. Now, number 6 was leaving money on the table for the other person. Now, this applies to how we negotiate with people. It applies to how we negotiate with other agents. Now, don't take everything out of the deal. Now, I'm not talking about your fiduciary duty to your clients or your agency. I understand that. As a buyer's agent, you're supposed to do a very professional job with the transaction. You're supposed to help them find the perfect house, and you're supposed to help them negotiate the best possible price. If you're working for the seller, the objective is to deploy all kinds of strategies to attract the right person to the property. And in the process, as the listing agent, your job is to negotiate a really good price for your sellers, the best price. But setting that stuff aside for a second, but we all know agents that we work with that attempt to push us around in the transaction. They act like bullies. We've all had an agent that we've done a co-op deal with who act like they're selling their own house the way they negotiate. And in the process, all they've done is alienated the other side and made it more and more difficult because at a certain point, people resent being bullied around. It's like, you know what? I'm out of this. I don't need to be talked to that way. I don't need to be treated that way. Don't be that agent. Be the agent that is a deal maker, not a deal breaker. And even with difficult agents, I want you to be able to extend professional courtesy. Build relationships with everyone. When you are communicating, I want you to be respectful. I want you to be authentic. And I want you to be transparent as much as the law allows us to be. So be kind and be sincere with people. Understand the people who want to sell the house. And understand the people who want to buy the house. Your job as a negotiator is to get the deal done. It's to work with the other side, whatever that looks like. Make sure the other agent feels like they're working through a great experience with you. When they call you, call them back right away. When they're curious how the financing condition is going, share as much information as you are allowed to legally. The home inspection, closing documents, whatever the other side has, respond quickly to them. And I will tell you that it makes more sense to talk to them sometimes than it does to just send them a text. Often digital communication can be misunderstood. And sometimes it doesn't come out the way we intended it to, or they read it differently and they can find it offensive. Take the high road. When you're dealing with everybody, treat other agents honorably, even if they're not doing the same for you. Because in the end, it's your reputation and it's how people are going to talk about you. So always take the high road, always be professional. I had a young agent in one of my classes a little while ago talk disrespectfully about another agent on a transaction. And I said to him, whoa, time out. I said, listen, the Code of Ethics and the Standards of Business Practice tell us that we are never allowed to say anything derogatory about the competition. So I know you don't mean to do the wrong thing, but you're doing the wrong thing here. We need to be that example of what a professional real estate agent is all about. So, and again, these are just common sense stuff, but it's how people communicate with us. We've all had people who communicate really terribly. They're bad communicators. They're bullies. They push us around. There's lots of different ways for you guys to communicate kindly and respectfully. And one of those basic strategies is to get back to people quickly. Doesn't matter if it's the other agent or if it's your client. Get back to them quickly, outline the next steps in the process, let them understand where you are, and let them know when you'll be following back up, when you have more information. And when you say you're going to follow up, you got to follow up. You got to follow up when you said you were going to follow up. You can't say, oh, I'm sorry, my car broke down, or I had another deal I was working on, or I couldn't get back to you. Listen, that does not fly, because the deal you're working on with them at that moment is the most important thing in their life. It's the most important thing in the seller's life. It's the most important thing in the buyer's life. And the other agent on the other side has elevated this to the top of their worksheet for the day. They want these things taken care of. So you need to communicate in real time. Don't add to the frustration. Eliminate the frustration. These are like basic, simple rules. My dad would say nugget number 7, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. My dad was a true sales guy and without any formal training. And probably one of the most important attributes he had, he genuinely liked people. He really liked people. And he enjoyed talking to everybody. Now, I got my real estate license first in my family. About 4 years later, my younger brother joined me in the business and we went on to buy our real estate office. We were just kids. And at that point, I sold my parents' restaurants for them and my dad took a little bit of time off. And then he decided he wanted to join his boys in the real estate business. Now, I got to tell you, it was an absolute blessing to have my dad work with us. You know, to be able to spend time with him in that environment on a regular basis was an absolute gift. And I tell people this all the time when I meet a father and son or a mother and daughter that are working together. And I make a point in my real estate classes to say, I don't know if you understand how blessed you are to have time with your parents like this. So enjoy the experience. I tell them all that I wish I could go back and do it again. I really do. It was magical. Now, when he joined us in real estate, he never did any marketing. And of course, I'm the marketing guy and I want, print media going out and different things happening. And in those days, we used to advertise in the newspaper. My father wouldn't do any of that. He just talked to everybody. He would go out with a handful of business cards. And by the end of the day, he'd come back with a listing appointment. And I'd be like, what the hell? Where's all of the other tools? He said, I don't need that stuff. He said, I just talk to everybody. Now, my dad was a smoker and a coffee drinker. Every time I turned around, he's standing there having a coffee and smoking a cigarette with somebody. And of course, he's getting a lead on something. And without spending any money on anything, my father was out putting signs up and doing deals. And it was just a real personable person. He tried leaving everybody with a feeling that they were better after the conversation. He had a really caring attitude, and it took him a long way. I would see my father, for instance, stop and talk to people, or I would give you an example. I was with him one day and we pulled up in front of a liquor store. I was going to go in and get a bottle of wine and I left my dad in the car. When I came out, my father is sitting next to a homeless man in front of the liquor store and the two of them are sharing a sandwich. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? And he said, well, he asked me for some money and I wasn't going to give it to him. So I went and bought him a sandwich And the two of us are having a sandwich together. Now, again, I told you my father smoked. And at that time, we had just picked up a couple of cartons of cigarettes. Instead of giving the man money, he went back to the car, he got one of his cartons of cigarettes, and he went and handed it to him. And he said to the homeless guy, here. Well, the homeless guy lit up like you wouldn't believe. But the point of this is my father never looked down on anybody. He did a lot of business, quite honestly, with the construction industry. My father had a tremendous amount of respect for men that worked really hard. Often the sales guy in real estate sees the guys on the construction site and he walks right by them, looking down at them like they're laborers. My father never did that. My father, you'd find him out there talking to the drywallers, the roofers, and the block layers. He'd be out there talking to them instead of the person in the trailer who was the supervisor. And my father got listings from the electricians. He got listings from the plumbers. He got listings from the drywallers. He connected with everybody. And the supervisor could see that on the construction site. And where the supervisor, the general foreman on the site, might have been really rude to his workers, because that's often how they communicate in the construction industry, he looked at my father and would see that my father was very relatable. And I can tell you, not only would he get the workers to buy houses from him, but he'd also have the guy who owned the company doing business with him, because everybody liked my dad. So I want you to think about how you connect with people and how you leave people when the conversation is over. I learned 3 basic communication strategies that I would like you to think about. When you talk to people and you're in a conversation, is the conversation you're having based on truth? Does it also include kindness? So truth, it's got to be truthful, it's got to be kind, and it's got to be necessary. So my father, even though it felt like you were having a conversation, it was really a sales call. And he would layer the sales opportunity well below building the relationship. Once the relationship was built, he would then bring out that part of the conversation. Well, it sounds like you guys are kind of interested, or, might be a new home, might be in your future. Why don't we get together? But he never started with the sale. He always started with the relationship. He sincerely was interested and curious. And when he felt the conversation had kind of landed to a point where there was a real warm transaction taking place, then he would bring up the sale opportunity, and it worked for him. Number 8, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. From the time I was little, I watched my dad work from sunrise to sunset. It didn't matter what kind of business he was in. He worked day and night. Now, if my father, like I said, he didn't have a university education, but what he did teach all 3 of his sons is that we were expected as boys to do the same. We were expected to work very hard. And as the oldest son, a lot of that responsibility fell on me. Let me tell you, when I was 12 when my father had a moving company. And as the oldest boy, I was expected to work with him. And that, when I said a moving company, I don't want you to think he was sitting in an office sending out moving trucks. No, my dad and I were moving furniture. That's what we were doing. Let me be honest with you. We were doing the hard work of moving somebody's washing machine or moving somebody's sofa. And I was 12 years old. Very quickly, my father took a contract to move an elderly lady out of a apartment that was above a variety store, like a 2-story walk-up. And it was after school. And we had to move this 2-bedroom apartment, just my dad and I. I was 12. He was probably about 36 at the time. And at one point, this elderly lady had so many boxes that I was going up and down the 2-story walk-up, and my legs started to shake because they were physically exhausted. And I can remember leaning on the tailgate of the truck, and my legs were shaking so bad from going up and down these stairs for the last couple of hours that I literally started to cry. And my father looked at me and he said, "Tears aren't going to move the boxes. We made a promise to that elderly lady. We made a promise to that lady. You need to get off your ass and get back up those stairs, and you need to move those boxes." With tears coming down and my legs shaking, I back up the stairs as a 12-year-old to move the balance of those boxes. Now, most of you would say, you know what, that's against child labor laws. Your father should be in jail. The reality of it is my dad pushed me. And those lessons taught me in real estate, when everybody else quits, you soldier on. You keep pushing on. When everybody else has surrendered, don't you throw up that white flag. You fight for every inch. You keep pushing, and you keep pushing. That's how winners are born. That's how winners are made. That's how you become successful. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Just outwork the competition. Just be the one that works nights, weekends, holidays. Be the one that pushes through when everybody else surrenders. And I promise you, you're going to succeed, wildly successful. And what you don't know, you'll learn on the way. But there are many lessons in life. You have to go through the storms to get out to the other side before you truly understand the lesson that you were expected to learn. Don't back away from a fight, step into it. Make sure that you deliver an exceptional experience and go beyond what people expected. Now, when it comes to real estate, there will be days when you're exhausted, driving people around that can't make up their mind, or dealing with an irate seller who's unreasonable. You need to push through. Most people quit. Don't you quit. And understand, most of the time when people are frustrated with you, they're frustrated with something else in their life, and they're trying to deposit that negative energy in your lap. Don't own it. Do a great job. Always do what you said. And at the end of the day, even the difficult clients will become your raving fans. When you get a difficult one, you hang in there and you push through, because it is those lessons that you learn in communication, sales strategies, presentations, objection handling. All of that will be amplified when you have to deal with a difficult client. And the skill you learn from that difficult client will make the other clients so easy to deal with. You push through everything. Number 9, take pride in your appearance. No matter what my father did, he always dressed up to go to work. Even when we were moving furniture, we were expected to wear khaki pants with a little golf shirt with our company name on it. We had a look about us, and that allowed people to feel confident that they had hired professionals. I have people in my real estate class, even this week. I'm like, dude, you need to get a shave. You need to shine those shoes. I have people who show up in my classes, they look homeless. And I'm thinking somebody wants to make the biggest decision in their life. And you have the arrogance to think that you don't need to present the best version of you. Right down to your shoes, your suit and tie. And if you can't afford an expensive suit, let me tell you what's more important than an expensive suit. A suit that's properly tailored. So make sure the suit fits you properly. It doesn't have to be a custom bespoke made suit. It just needs to be tailored properly. You need to present an image when somebody meets you. This is what a real estate professional should look like. Now, my father didn't dress to impress himself. He did it out of respect for the people he was working for. If you don't have enough initiative to look good for the people you're working for, my attitude is if you can't look after the little things, you're never going to look after the big things. Every time you walk out of the house, I want you to look in the mirror and say, do you look like somebody that I would give the largest asset to in my life and hope that you would take care of it? Is the image that you're presenting the one that the clients expect to see? Number 10, your energy is your brand. Sales is an honorable profession. Remember, nothing happens in this world unless someone sells it. Don't lose the sight of how important we are as a professional. Great salespeople care a lot about their clients, and they do the honorable job, and they're proud of how they're able to help people with their problems. Own your neighborhood, own your community. Be the go-to person locally when people need real estate information and insight, market events. You don't need to dominate the entire city. You just need to dominate your zip code, your neighborhood. Focus your efforts on your local neighborhood and become the one that everybody associates as the professional in that marketplace. Number 12, either you follow up or you fail. Most agents give up after 1 or 2 touch points. People often ask me, how many times should I reach out to somebody that's not responding? Until they respond. So, as the window of opportunity in sales closes, it's okay to become more aggressive. Top performers systemize value-based follow-ups through personalized messages, check-ins, and they bring unexpected value to the relationships. Think beyond just following up. Share insights, send helpful articles, mention about neighborhood stats. Add something new every time you call. When you reach out to your farm, talk about the house that sold recently or the one that just went up for sale, or what's happening in interest rates, what's happening in the community that's affecting the real estate market. My last bit of advice for you is don't let your ego get in the way. Never be too proud to knock on a door. My dad would say, never be too proud to bend down and pick up a nickel. Your ego will often affect your success. Never be embarrassed to ask for an opportunity. Every time you prospect, don't think of it as begging for a sale. Think about how much you could help somebody, how much you know, and how fortunate they would be to be in a relationship with somebody who cares as much as you do about what they want to achieve. It's an attitude shift. So a little bit, that's my dad, and Father's Day is coming up, and I miss him every day. And if you're fortunate to still have your dad with you, then make some time to stay connected. It's really important. This week's assignment is I want you to take 3 nuggets, and I want you to apply them to your business. And while I have you, Vanessa, I'm going to get you to do the assignments. The type
No worries.
Hello. I can't see the damn thing. If you could.
No worries. Yeah. So this week's assignments, we do want you to take 3 nuggets that you've learned from today, write them down, and see how you're going to apply them to your business. Take it a little extra step further for bonus and be hyper local. So be that go-to person in your community this week and start creating some posts to showcase that, whether it's a small business shout out, whether it is an event that's coming in, or if you're wanting to create something for the next following month, which is June. In your community, you always have an events calendar that you can look up. So a little bit of extra bonus to put yourself out there as that resourceful person. But Chris, thank you so much for another amazing session. I love your nuggets of wisdom. I have renamed them to leader nuggets. Okay. I'm going to trademark that. So let's go ahead and jump into some Q&A because we got some great questions popping up. Our first one is going to be from Carlos in San Diego. Oh, I'm so sorry. Marcus in Denver, Colorado. What is the best way to approach a homeowner who's behind on payments without sounding predatory?
Well, I would suggest that you be kind in your communication. Be thoughtful that a person is feeling like they've failed in some cases. They have a responsibility or an obligation they're not meeting. And I think I believe empathy in a situation is really important. I can tell you that I have worked through many markets where we were in a recession or a declining market, and I had to sit with many people that were losing their house. And because I was a small business owner, a real estate broker, owned an office, I understand how difficult it can be when your obligations exceed the amount of revenue you're driving. I've been in business a long time, and I've had to face those personal situations myself. So in my communication style, it would be incredibly empathetic. Hey, I understand you guys. I want you to know I've been where you've been. I've gone through some difficult challenges. And if I think anything, one of the great attributes I bring to this conversation is I really understand you. I understand what it feels like to be you. And I want you to know I have solutions. I have strategies. And if we work together, I can help you through this situation to the other side and get you guys back on your feet again. So let's take a few minutes, you and I, and just explore what's going on. And then after we've explored what's happening, then we can take a look at where we are in relationship to how we move forward and what opportunities exist. So more than the dialogue, Marcus, it's a feeling from the heart that you get them. You can't just sit down and say, hey, I see you guys are in financial trouble. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. It feels demeaning to them. And what I need you to do is, and I learned this because I had to go through tough times. You know, I've had times, honestly, Marcus, where in my real estate business, for starters, I had times when I made so much money, I couldn't spend it. And then, you know, a few years later, because I wasn't a smart business guy when I was a kid, I found myself in a recession and I didn't have money in the morning to buy a cup of coffee. And I was checking the pockets in my trench coat to see if I could find some change to buy a coffee on the way to work. So it's those moments when you struggle in life that allow you to make a human connection with other people who are having struggles. So I'm not sure where you are in your career, and I'm not sure where you are in your life and what you've experienced, but empathy in a situation like that is going to be one of the most valuable resources you have. In the end, there might be an agent who's more qualified and does more business, but don't be surprised if the homeowner gives you the listing because there was something about you that they could relate to. This is about being a sales professional. It's about being kind. It's understanding that life has a lot of challenges for people. Sometimes it can be change in employment. Sometimes it can be a change in health or marriage status. These are all difficult situations. And we as real estate agents are expected to help people navigate these situations with a sense of kindness and empathy and respect, never making anybody feel small. Your job is to build them up and let them know that you have a light that's bright enough to shine on the path way ahead of them so that we can get them to where they need to go and get them back on their feet again. So that's just part of being in real estate. And I hope you'll find the way I've communicated this, though it may not have been full of a lot of phraseology, it's about attitude in your heart. And I can tell you there were times when I helped people reorganize their finances, arrange for a second mortgage on their property and pay off all their credit card debt and sometimes a car loan. And it meant that they could stay in the house. I didn't get a sale out of it and I didn't make any commission. But what I did make was really strong relationship with somebody. And I can tell you, once we got them sorted around and we had a couple more years and the economy picked up, the person they called to sell their house was me. The person they told their friends to use was me. So sometimes it's the difference between a short nickel and a long dime. Do it to them. Do it for them, not to them. It's not about commission checks. It's about clients. So I hope you'll adopt a similar philosophy. And in the long run, you'll be in this business a long time and be considered the person that somebody needs to talk to when they have challenges.
I love that, Chris, because there are so many different challenges in real estate. And I feel like a lot of people only talk about one way, and there's many different situations that do happen along the way. So I love that. Our next question comes from Carlos in San Diego. How do I start going hyperlocal if I'm relatively new to a neighborhood?
There's lots of things you can do, Carlos. So let's start with this. The first thing I want you to do is new to the neighborhood is to go around and introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know that you're going to be establishing your real estate practice in this area and it's going to be your specialty. Ask them if they'd like to receive your market report. It's a report you produce every 90 days to keep them informed as to what homes are selling for in the neighborhood and what other homes are listed for, that sort of thing, market trends. It's no obligation, and you just like the opportunity to continue to connect with them. As a neighbor, people are going to be a little more open to that. The next thing I would do is I would go around to local businesses and I would maybe spotlight them on a local Facebook business page that you develop for your community. And I would take time to get to know them, understand their businesses, maybe shoot a little 90-second video to help promote their business. And in the process, they'll feel an obligation through the law of reciprocity to return that favor. Good. You're going to develop some new relationships. The next thing I want you to do is highlight a list of service suppliers locally. People who do landscaping and gardening and people who look after pools and fix driveways and all of that. Now, whoever you connect with has to be really good. So one of the things I might do is try to organize a breakfast, for instance, in one of the local diners where you invite a dozen local business people to come and have breakfast with you at about, 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. Get a chance to meet them, get a chance to know them, let them know you're going to be highlighting them in a lot of your marketing and helping them with their business. And in the process, they'll feel again a sense of responsibility to work with you. So if you can do some of these things, and there's lots more things, you can get involved in local charity events, make sure you're out at any social events, join the local recreational community center, join the right gym locally, maybe get involved in the local golf course if that's in your purview, maybe get involved in some yoga classes locally, start playing pickleball. There's a million things we can do locally to raise our profile, but we're not just playing pickleball. We've got a t-shirt on that says, "Hey, list with Chris." We're giving out water bottles to everybody at yoga class that's got our contact details on it. We're helping other small businesses locally. It's getting out there. It's saying hello to people and it's getting them to know you. So I was going to say, I think that was Carlos. I was going to say, Carlos, don't overcomplicate this thing. It's not that complicated. It's just talking to people and being nice. What's the next one? Miss Vanessa.
So the next one is from Tony Flores in California. Now, I don't think the entire question came in, but it looks like, can you give me your top 3 lead generation tactics? I'm going to finish that off for him.
Tactics, lead generation. Lead generation to me, I connect with some sort of digital strategy designed to get more business. And there are lead gen companies out there that you can spend $5, $6, or $1,000 a month. And there's always somebody on the internet that says, hey, buy my lead system and I guarantee you 5 listings this month or 10 sales or whatever it is. Going back to what I said to you earlier, Tony, I want you to do your homework. Don't buy somebody's system unless you can talk to people who are presently using it and get a real life recommendation from a real life real estate agent in another city that would say, hey, this is really great. Now, I will tell you also about digital systems for lead gen. What you're going to find is that if you're an early adopter to a system, you're going to get lots of good leads out of it. If you come late to the party, the leads will be watered down. And most lead gen systems have a life cycle. They come onto the market, and then what happens is they typically sell them out based on zip codes, for instance, or postal codes. And when that postal code is sold out, it becomes more and more difficult. So I would say there's lots of systems out there, number one, to look at. The other thing I would do from a lead gen system is I would create a farming campaign at a local level using some print, believe it or not. And then again, I would tie that into a digital strategy using social media at a local level. And then and I know this sounds a little bit sort of, boots on the ground stuff, but there are things that you can do every day that will contribute to your success. Like, for instance, you've heard me talk about the morning high five that Sean Carpenter taught me. Sean's a Coldwell Banker agent out of the Ohio Valley. Great guy. Sean would tell you 5 emails, 5 text messages, 5 social media posts, 5 handwritten cards, and 5 slide dials, technology that allows you to call people without ringing their phone and depositing the message in their voicemail box. And he does that every morning, 25 touch points. That system alone will generate 3 or 4 sales for him every year because he stays connected to his database. So there are things we can do. The other thing I would say to you is be personable. Put 10 business cards in your pocket every morning and promise yourself you're not going to come home until you've engaged in 10 personal conversations with people, and use that as a basic metric. If you have 10 conversations a day, 50 a week, 200 a month, 2,400 a year, I promise you those conversations, probably 20% of them are going to convert to appointments. So don't overcomplicate this. Get out of your own way and get out of your head and just start doing the stuff that everybody else does. Just do it better than they do, because most people don't do it very well. Most people don't do it. The ones who do it often only do it from time to time. They don't do it consistently. Make these consistent strategies. What's the next one?
So the next one is from Monique in Orlando. Hi, Monique. I have actually worked with Monique. How AI can help me when they open my email marketing. I think that if I have the phone call, but if only the email. So I'm going to assume maybe are you asking for what other ways besides email marketing can AI help you?
Not sure what the question is, Monique. Let's go to the next question, and we will get Monique to type it in again. So let's go to the next one.
Absolutely. The next one is coming from Maya in Vancouver. What are some low-cost ways to provide unexpected value in follow-ups?
So, in my follow-up, what I might do with something like that, and especially I run into this all the time. Somebody's talked to somebody on the phone and they've been ghosted and they are having a hard time reconnecting. Small bouquet of flowers hand delivered to the door with a little card from you saying, hey, I've been trying to get in touch. I hope you can find some time to reach out. I'd love to connect. So that might, cost you $10 at the grocery store, $12 to buy a little bouquet of flowers. I don't want you to go to a florist and buy a $100 flower basket, just a small bouquet. It could be something as simple as a Starbucks card and a little card in the front door that says, this is an invite for you and I to share a cup of coffee when it's convenient. I'd love to follow up our real estate conversation to help you as you move forward. There are always all kinds of cheaper keepers we have in real estate. As we move into barbecue season, you might have a local barbecue sauce that somebody puts together that you picked up at the farmer's market. Put a little bow on it and say, hey, grilling season's coming. I'd love to discuss a new patio or a stay vacation backyard for you. We just have to be a little creative in our thinking. I've I've even, Maya, done something like this where I've had a client that I haven't been able to get them back on the phone. And I've gone to Walmart, and you're going to laugh at this, but I bought one pair of running shoes and asked the clerk to give me 2 boxes. She's like, what do you need 2 boxes for? I said, doesn't matter. Give me 2 boxes. So she gave me 2 boxes. She gave me 2 boxes, 1 pair of running shoes. And I take one shoe and put it in the box. And I put a little handwritten note in the box, and I put a bow on it and put it at the front door. And the note would say, hey, I got 1 foot in the door. What do I have to do to get the other one in? I hope this makes you smile. And in the process, please give me a call. I got a bunch of those. You know, if I was an expired listing, for instance, I used to have pencils that had erasers on both ends. And I'd send it in a little envelope. Don't make the same mistake twice. Call me, you know. There are all kinds of fun little things. You just have to be creative. And I invite a personal call. I don't know who it was. The question's gone away. But if you ever want to talk to me about even more ideas like that, I'd be happy to help if you reach out. Oh, Maya, if you want to reach out and have a conversation with me, I'd be happy to give you 10 different strategies like that. That would be valuable. We're out of time. How did this happen?
We are out of time. That was awesome, Chris. I love those ideas. They are funny and they are attention grabbers. So way to go. Well, that's a wrap on another powerful session of Leaders Weekly. Chris, thank you again for sharing your insights, strategies, and experience. It's always incredible to learn from your expertise. And I do appreciate all those nuggets that your dad provided you, because they are wonderful. And I feel like they are pillars for understanding how to navigate in real estate.
Thank you.
All right. So lastly, before I do close it out, just want to give a big key reminder. If you're ready to make more money and take control of your time and business, you can spend 20 minutes with a coaching expert to discover the advantages of one-on-one real estate coaching. It's a free conversation to provide you with the information that you need. Go ahead and scan that QR code to book your consultation today. To everyone who joined us today, thank you for showing up, engaging, and investing in yourself, especially on a holiday. Props to you. The fact that you're here means that you're committed to growth, and that's what sets top professionals apart. So stay focused, embrace change, and put these strategies into action. We'll see you next Monday right here on Leaders Weekly. Have a great day.
Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers.